Hey guys, welcome back to another plan with me. This week I'm planning from September 5th to the 11th, and I'm using this kit from Scribble Prints Co. that I don't know the name of. I forgot to look it up, but it's clearly a Wicked themed kit, and she's done a Wicked kit before and I didn't pick it up, and I want to say that this one's different. Either way, I'm really happy I did pick it up, even though I didn't get to see Wicked this year. I have seen it before. I went with my grandmother. I think it was for my 19th birthday. The two of us went, and it was so good. Definitely like a core happy memory for me. But yeah, I just think this kit is stunning. I love the weird color scheme, like with the pink, red, blue, and barf green. I love it. Poppies are, I think, my favorite flower, and so I love this like orangey red that's all over the kit. I was sort of able to use every single box, and all of the boxes are pretty unique, and I really like that. Like this box that I just put on the top left corner with the clock and the bubbles is just so different from the Emerald City boxes, and then there's the Yellow Brick Road, and yeah, I'm really happy with this kit. It was just a nice change from a normal color scheme, so I'm just glad that I got to use it. On my sidebar, I do end up leaving out one box, but I cut a sliver of the Yellow Brick Road off of that box to put in between my two half boxes. But other than that, everything is very much the same. And yeah, I guess I'll just jump right into my day by day, starting with Monday, of course. And I apologize if my voice sounds a little hoarse. This is the first thing I'm doing today is this voiceover. So I'm still sort of like waking up and I sound a little bit froggy, but we're going to go with it. So starting off on Monday, the first thing I did was listen to my audiobook and do a puzzle. That's been a huge stress reliever for me and just basically my favorite thing to do, and I have to actively stop myself from doing it because I will spend the entire day doing it. And around this time I was basically wrapping up work. I wasn't having any more hours. The company I was working with, their sale was almost complete. And so I was really stressing about finding a new job and like starting that whole process. So just listening to my audiobooks and doing a puzzle was like a really good escape for me. And instead of trying to figure out what the hell to do with myself all day, I did that, and the time just flew in like the best way. I mean, it was actually going too fast in my opinion because I just wanted to keep going. But yeah, so anyway, I started my day off with that, and both of these munchkins are from Once Born with Love. Then under that, the fancy label and these emojis from the Coffee Monsters Co. I marked that I had to drive my boyfriend to the bus because he was, I believe this is the week that he was going to the US Open in New York. So I drove him to the bus station, and then he was going to take the bus up just because that just made more sense since the two of us weren't going. It didn't really make sense to drive. So yeah, that's what we did. And then with a little thing and this trash can, I marked that I finally tossed this old rug padding that was taking up precious space in our little like laundry closet. We don't have storage in this apartment, and from when my room flooded, they just stored the old rug padding in our laundry room, and it was like a huge chunk. It was really hard to get out, but I finally wrestled it out and took it outside to the trash. Then with a little thing and an old vacuum from SPC, I marked that I definitely had to vacuum because while it was also like shoved behind our water heater. And in order to get it out, tons of little pieces of the foamy padding were like getting everywhere. And since it was like all old and crusty, it was just like flaking. So I definitely had to vacuum. And then the final thing on Monday, I'm telling you, this is like all I did some days. Once again, I worked on a puzzle and I started a new audiobook called Missing Molly. It was decent. Wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely decent. Moving on to Tuesday. Sorry if you can hear my water. I feel like I sound atrocious. should really be drinking tea, but we're going to work with what we have. Anyway, moving on to Tuesday, the first thing I marked with a little thing and the Stella Bow Sticker Co. umbrella was that we got tons of rain this day, which would have been nice considering I don't commute to a workplace, but I did have to go out, so I would have appreciated rain a different day. And then under that, with a Planting Roses car and a little thing, I marked that I had to move Joe's car. I didn't have to, but I took his car to drop him off at the bus, and I parked it far away because there was no parking by the time I got home, and a spot opened up right outside of my apartment. And especially since it's his car, I wanted to be able to like check in on it every once in a while he was gone. So I moved it so that way I could just look out my window and make sure that nobody had stolen it. With a little thing and this washing machine sticker from SPC, I marked that I did laundry. And then I had to go out and fill my tire, which has still not been fixed since I got a flat and it had a slow leak. So I knew I was going to have to do that in the pouring rain. So I got completely soaked, and I used this Planting Roses tire to mark that. Then with another little thing and this pumpkin paper Kotera with her hair all in curlers, I marked that I had a hair appointment, and this is my second hair appointment with my new stylist. And I say that like one time is just me getting lucky, but if she's able to cut my hair exactly how I want a second time, then I know for sure she's like the one. And I had such a great appointment with her. And yeah, we just talked about like reality TV. She did exactly what I wanted, which actually it's funny. So the hairstyle I have right now is something I don't want. It's very like blah. It's very all one length. But the reason I had her do that instead of tons of layers, which is what I usually prefer, is because I've lost a ton of hair and it's currently growing back right now and it just looks weird. And I'm not talking about my little bald spot if you follow me on Instagram. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like I was actually shedding tons and tons of hair last winter and it's growing back and it's all like 2-3 inches long. So my hair is super thin and also just looks silly. So yeah, anyway, that's a long explanation about that, but I was really anxious for my appointment and I'm just so glad that I went. And then leaving my appointment, my GPS was not able to connect to any internet and I had no service. And if you know me, you know that I have no sense of direction, especially when I'm in a different neighborhood. The hair salon is like 10 minutes from me, so it's not like somewhere where I really know the area. And even, I'm not gonna lie, even if I do know the area, I need GPS. I'm just very directionally challenged. And fun fact that my best friend actually found out years ago, they did like a study or whatever, or a survey, and please comment below if this is you, but left-handed people tend to be worse with directions. And so I live by that. That is totally my excuse, because like people get so mad at me because I really can't find my way around and my brain just does not work like that. Like my boyfriend will be like, you know, you've walked this way 1,000,000 times. How are you not able to drive? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The first time I walked home from middle school, I was about to cry. I was breathing so hard because I thought I was lost. And I was 1 block from my house, okay? Like, I struggle. And I'm saying all of this because I was able to find my way back to the highway all by myself. I don't know how I did it. I just was able to use landmarks and I did it. And for somebody else, that's like nothing. But for me, that's a big deal because I'm terrible at directions. I have no idea which way is up. So I just used this little confused munchkin to mark that. And then under that with a squared off box and again this little munchkin listening to an audiobook and a puzzle piece from my friend Ilza, I marked that once again. I just did puzzling and audiobook. And then the final thing for Tuesday with a little flag and this relax sticker from, I believe, the GP studio, I marked that I just chilled out in sweatpants. And actually these should be flipped, but it just didn't it didn't look right, but I definitely got in my sweats before I got to puzzling. But yeah, so that was everything for Tuesday. Moving on to Wednesday, the first thing I marked was that I checked my work email. I believe it might not be, but I believe this is the final time that I really give it a good check. I think I was basically like officially done working at this point. I'm still like an independent contractor for them, but like the account I worked with was like done this day. So I marked that with this little emoji on a laptop. Under that, with a fancy label and these emojis in a car again, I marked that I picked Joe up from the bus stop, and he had a couple work stops, so I just drove him to those. And I marked that with this house and a little thing because he goes in for home inspection. So that's why it made sense in my head. With a fancy label and this, where's this bed from? Is it Stella Bow Sticker Co.? It might be. Or Sticky Perks. I think it's Stella Bow Sticker Co. I apologize. Anyway, I took a nap. And then with a squared off box and this deco left over from the Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives kit, I marked that we got Boston Market. And then with a flag and a rose that I've had saved from, I think, the Edward Scissorhands kit that I used last year, I marked that we watched The Bachelorette. And then moving on to Thursday, the first thing I marked with a little thing and a Target icon from Carly Plans was that I went to Target. I believe maybe I walked. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. With the squared off box and this Planning Roses laptop, I marked that I had to research detailing locations, which was actually really stressful because a lot of them don't put their pricing online. And by a lot of them, I mean like most of them. And you have to call. And so I had to call a bunch of places. And it's also stressful because a lot of them were far away from me. And it's an all-day event. So that it just like wasn't making sense for me. And I didn't realize how expensive detailing was, but it was like a necessity. So whatever, it is what it is. Under that, with a flag and this crying baby, I marked that I looked at more jobs because once again, it's time to find a new career, basically. Not career, but you know what I mean. So yeah, very stressful, hate it so much, but I did that. Then with the squared off box and this emoji eating watermelon, I marked that we cut the biggest watermelon of the season. It was so good, such a good way to end the watermelon season. With a fancy label and another piece of deco from that Edward Scissorhands kit, I marked that we watched The Bachelorette. And then the final thing on Thursday with a little thing and this fridge from, I want to say, Carly Plans or SPC, I marked that I restocked my fridge. I didn't have space to mark it on this day because I wanted to use all of the boxes from the kit, but we got a notification that our power would be out for hours in our apartment, and it could potentially be too long for the food in the freezer, or not the freezer, the food in the fridge. So I emptied my fridge and took everything to Joe's place, which was annoying and inconvenient, and the power ended up coming on early, which I knew was a possibility, but I just didn't feel like gambling with all my food, so I just did it. It was annoying, but it was fine. Moving on to Friday, the first thing I marked with a little thing and this cleaner bottle that I've had forever, for years and years. I marked that I cleaned with a fancy label and this brush sticker that, again, I've had just as long, so I don't know where it's from, but I marked that I got ready with a little thing and this crying munchkin. I just marked that I hate all my clothes. I was just having like a mental breakdown trying to get ready for an event. I had to look like somewhat good, and I don't even know if it's all in my head, but I feel like my body has changed so much, and maybe it's just I'm not used to seeing myself in anything other than sweatshirts and like big t-shirts, but I was just like having a hard time. Then with a fancy label and the Stella Bow Sticker Co. car, I marked that Joe and I had to drive. He just came back from New York, and we were driving up to New York this day, and we also carpooled with his brother-in-law's sister and her husband, because they also live in Philadelphia and we're going to the same event. So it just made sense for all of us to go together. So we did that. Then with a squared off box and this Jubilo champagne bottle, I marked that we went to Joe's sister's surprise 40th birthday party at the Public Hotel, which is a very famous hotel. You've definitely seen Instagrammers like post pictures in the escalator way. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then under that, with a little thing and these emojis just partying, I marked that we stayed at, so her husband had reserved like a private room with an open bar and all that for us, but we only had a certain amount of time with that. And so once it hit, I want to say like 11 p.m. or something, we no longer had the space. So we all just went out and hung out at the hotel bar and lounge, which was really cool and definitely something I don't do on a regular basis, but very cool. And we all just like talked and stuff. And then I marked with a fancy label in this Planning Rose's house that we did not get home until 4 a.m. And we had an event the next day too that I was more than happy to skip, but Joe was adamant about going. So we had to go. Did you guess it was another wedding? Yeah. I was begging him to RSVP no, but he said we're going to suck it up and we're going to go. So we did. So moving on to Saturday, the first thing I marked with a squared off box and this bill paying old school Tara, I marked that this was the first time I paid my new high rent, which is just so fitting that I wasn't working and my rent went up. I mean, that's just how it goes, right? Like, that's life. So I paid the higher rent with a little thing and this munchkin tweezing their eyebrows. I just marked that I really didn't want to get ready. Like, I had such a good time the night before. I was not like grotesquely hungover or anything, but not feeling my best. Definitely not feeling like perky and ready to party again. But I sucked it up. I got ready and I was feeling, again, pretty shitty about myself while getting ready for this wedding. And the only dress I felt comfortable in was one that I had worn to a wedding in West Virginia the year before. And the last time I wore it, I was probably like 5 pounds lighter. So that was also sort of like upsetting me. It just didn't fit as perfectly, but it still did fit. So I wore it. And when I walked out of my room, my roommate hyped me up a little bit. So that boosted my confidence. But yeah, I just, again, this whole day I was in a bad mood. And yes, I do need to work on that. I need to not let things ruin my entire day. I 100% understand that. That's not like a fun energy to be around for other people. But in my defense, I did say, like, can we skip this wedding so that there's only one big event this weekend? But we went. And we were also running a little late, both of us. I'm going to be fair. Normally, I would just put it on Joe because he's usually the one that was running late. But I was, like, getting down to the wire. But on top of that, he did lose track of time as well. So by the time we were getting into Center City, this was a Philadelphia wedding, by the way, we were really, like, pressed for time. And we weren't late yet, okay? But he needed to look for parking. And so he was assuming that it would take him a long time, and he decided that one of us should be present for the ceremony, so he wanted me to go in by myself. And I'm sure the type of people who use planners can understand, or that sounds wrong, but like I'm sure other people in the planner community have similar anxiety and stage fright to me, where if I'm one of the last guests to arrive, I would rather not walk in by myself because I know when I walk in, everybody who's already seated is going to stare at me. And I don't like that feeling. I would rather us both walk in and quietly stand in the back if we happen to be late. And then if we're not late, that's great. We walk into, I would just rather walk in with somebody. I like a security blanket. But I had to go in by myself, which pissed me off even more. So here we go. I'm just pissed off. And then another thing that happened at the wedding sorry, this is like a long story. But something else happened at the wedding where I tried to sort of like fix my mood and got shut down. And what happened was there was a girl who we knew at this wedding. I don't know her very well, but I heard from my friend who I was sitting next to at the table that this girl realized, so some people wore short dresses, including myself. My dress was short, but there were probably like 6 women in short dresses. And this girl showed up at the wedding in a short dress, saw how fancy it was, freaked out, left the wedding after the ceremony during the cocktail hour, and came back in a different dress. Like, that's weird. Then my friend found out not only did she leave and come back in a different dress, it's not like she had a spare dress in her car. She went shopping. She left a wedding to go shopping to change her dress. Like, ma'am, you're not the bride. It's okay if you don't look 100%. Like, I wasn't feeling it. I was in a short dress too. I would have never left. Anyway, so we're talking about this, and I turned to Joe to tell him, to let him in on the gossip. And he doesn't get that I'm whispering and making fun of someone a little bit. Like, again, you know, to each their own. I just, again, was trying to like include him in the hot goss. And he then raises his voice, announces to our entire table, he goes, no offense, but you would do that too. And again, mood ruined, because you just embarrassed me by telling everybody at this table, including someone I've never met before, that I'm so high maintenance, you wouldn't put it past me to leave a wedding to go shopping for a new outfit, which I would never do in a million years. But that's the other part of it. You know I would never do that. I wouldn't even bring a spare dress from home to change into, let alone go shopping. So that just like, again, pissed me off. I just was not catching a break this day. I could not like brush anything off my shoulders. And I just like instantly gave him the cold shoulder, and he's like, I'm sorry. I thought we were all joking. And I was like, no, we were not all joking at my expense. We were telling a story about someone else. Little different. You missed the mark. So whatever. But we did meet a very nice person who was sat at our table. So that was cool. And like the whole evening wasn't a bust, but about like 95% of it was. Anyway, I marked the wedding with a little piece of champagne deco. I marked that I was feeling defensive, which I was, and I knew I shouldn't, I don't know, I needed to like go in the bathroom and take some deep breaths, but I didn't. And I just marked that with this like annoyed face. I used ate too much munchkin to mark that I ate too much again, especially because my friend is gluten-free, so she gave me her roll, so I had double bread. This was the wedding I felt the most sick at. I didn't have a single dessert. Under that, I marked with this little party munchkin that we walked over to like a hotel bar to have a quote unquote, it was not really an after party, but it was whatever. And then the final thing on Saturday was that we watched The Bachelorette, and I just marked that with this little rose. Moving on to Sunday, I marked that I slept until 3 p.m. and I used a Stella Bow sticker coat bed to mark that. I'm not even going to make excuses. I deserved to sleep till 3 after the crazy weekend I had just had. Or 2 days, I guess I should say. Then under that, with an umbrella from Stella Bow Sticker Co., I marked that it rained. I used a Sticky Perks slice of pizza to mark that we got Pizza Hut. I used a Piper Paper Plans ice cream sticker to mark eating ice cream. We also watched Anatomy of a Scandal this day, and I marked that with these 2 munchkins in a theater. I marked that I ate too much, I marked that I was having food guilt with an I ate too much sticker. Again, I don't know. I need to completely like revamp my diet. I'm just like not happy, and I know a lot of it is my food choices. And then the final thing for Sunday was I used this little cracked under pressure munchkin to mark that I was feeling really anxious about the week to come. For my sidebar, I marked the 40th surprise party with a little happy birthday munchkin, and then I used this Jubilo champagne bottle to mark the wedding. But yeah, that's everything for this plan with me. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you stayed till the end through my long story time, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.